The question I want to deal with is how did mankind go astray in just 2 generations? When you think of it, the Torah gives us a hint that in the time of Enosh, who was, after all, Adam and Chava's grandson, already idol worship started. The Torah says, "Oz uchal lekro b'shem Hashem," which sounds like it means they began to call out for God, but all the commentaries say it means they began to call other things God. They looked at an idol, they looked at a person, and they said, "Oh, that's God." So everything went downhill in 2 generations. It's amazing. Now you could say to me, "Hey, this is not so far-fetched. After all, look at the golden calf, which came a short time after the revelation in Sinai, right?" So, but I guess I would argue this is different. Adam and Chava they were actually alive for most of the life of their grandson Enosh. So, they could have said to people, "You think that's God, that statue over there, that idol? I know God. God created me. You might have had parents, but God created me and my wife. So there's no way that idol could be God." So I think it's a little different. I mean, I always tell the story when I worked at big ad agencies. There was a Jewish girl from Los Angeles who came up to me one day and she said, "So Yoni, Christmas is sort of a Jewish holiday too, right?" And I was astounded. I said, "Wow, you told me that your parents, you and your parents are from LA, and your grandfather came to LA from Europe. So you're 2 generations in Los Angeles, and granted, Los Angeles is a different planet than New York, but you're 2 generations, and already you don't know if Christmas is a Jewish holiday or not." The Ethiopians are coming now to Israel, and people are questioning whether they're Jewish or not, yet for generations, for centuries, they've kept a form of Shabbat, a form of kashrut, and even a form of family purity. So it's amazing how much we forgot. In any case, let's look at the Midrashim and see if we can find some answer. So it seems that the Midrashim are pointing a finger at Adam. There's one Midrash that says, the expression "forewarned is forearmed." Adam was shown the entire world history, all of its leaders, all of its scholars, everybody he was shown ahead of time. So that means that he surely knew things would have gone downhill, and surely he had the responsibility to do something about it. And he was around, as we said, for most of the life of Enosh, the generation in which they started worshiping idols. Furthermore, there's a midrash that points at Adam and says, it could have been possible that the Torah would have been given through you, just like it was eventually given through Moshe Rabbeinu. And it could have been possible that the 12 tribes of Israel would have come through you. But it didn't happen. Why? Well, of course, the Torah couldn't be given through you because, you had very few precepts to follow, and you blew it. And you had 2 sons, and one killed the other. So you weren't qualified to have the Torah or the Jewish people come through you. So these seem to be pointing fingers at Adam as the possible cause. However, to be fair, one could step back and say, no, these Midrashim aren't really saying that Adam is at fault somehow for the fact that idol worship proliferated so soon. It's just really bemoaning the fact that he ate from the tree, he and Chava ate from the tree, the tree of knowledge, and that's all the Medrash means. And that's why he was not qualified, because he made that one critical mistake. However, there is another Medrash which I think could provide an answer. And that Medrash says that all craftsmanship in the world came from Adam. So now we're talking about Adam already after he was expelled. In other words, before he was expelled, you could say, well, who knows what kind of God consciousness Adam retained after he was expelled from the Garden of Eden. Maybe he was on a very high level. Maybe it was, we know that we had said before that he was on this tremendous level of truth. Okay, that was when he was in the Garden of Eden. But as soon as he was expelled, perhaps he lost a lot of that. And you can't blame him for not, educating, giving moral principles to the generation. But here we have a medrash that says that he started teaching all crafts to the world. Everything that people knew started with him, and including something that it has a spiritual connection. That is that when you write a Sefer Torah, a Torah scroll, what a scribe does is first makes, marks on the scroll to show where the margins are, so you can stay with the margin. You make these scratches on the parchment, and that too, Adam taught the world. So here you have a very interesting case where it's something spiritually related. It's a Torah scroll, but yet all he did was teach something very mechanical. So even if we don't take it literally, it sounds like the Medrash is saying that he didn't actually impart spirituality when he could have and should have. And my wife and I go to a Hasidic shir, Rabbi Feivel Schuster here in Yerushalayim every Wednesday night, and there was a confirmation from that shir of this theory that I'm proposing now, that Adam did not impart a spirituality to the generation. The famous Shem Mishmuel, Hasidic master himself, who wrote about all kinds of Hasidus in his major work, he says that there was a vast distinction between, say, the Avot, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, in their ability to not only grow spiritually themselves, but also to live in this world and impart it to other people. That was their ability. But beforehand, the 10 generations from Adam all the way to Noach, they had the ability to reach a spiritual height, but they were lacking in the ability of imparting it to anyone else. Of course, we know that Noah is another case like that because, he built the ark for so many years and not a single person joined him outside of his own family. He was not giving fire and brimstone. He was not a great outreach professional. Didn't get anybody to join him. And he was not a nobody in his time. He was the one who created all kinds of implements for farming. He was like the Bill Gates of his time. So he was somebody that people respected, but nobody believed him. He could not impart anything. It seems that is true, that we're learning this about Adam as well. And that comes back to our original question: how did things go downhill in 2 generations? It seems that no matter what level Adam was at, and no matter what he retained his God consciousness even after the expulsion, whatever he knew, he could not successfully impart, and he sort of watched things fall apart and was helpless, couldn't do anything about it. Thank you so much. Great Shabbos.